Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, officials break ground on a flood survivor's home being funded with money announced just a month ago. And Congress grapples with another possible government shutdown with a new speaker at the helm.
Plus, we stay mild and dry for the middle of the week. The details on possible 70s coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Rebuilding efforts continue to press on following the July 2022 flood. Just last month, Governor Beshear announced $13.5 million from the Rural Housing Trust Fund for nonprofits in Eastern Kentucky who have made efforts to rebuild. And the Housing Development Alliance received $2.5 million of that funding, which will help build 17 homes and repair 15. Today, WYMT's Olivia Calfee was at the first groundbreaking.
2, 3, and toss.
It's a good day, and it's actually a really, really good day, because today we're celebrating starting a home for Melissa and her daughters and their husky.
A groundbreaking day for the Neese family, one that Melissa says is a hope-filled step forward.
We're in like a little camper right now with the Kentucky Emergency Management, and I'm very appreciative to have the place to stay, you know, the roof over our heads. But this is going to be absolutely wonderful to have, you know, like I said, a big kitchen to cook in and your own bedroom and your own space. That's what I look forward to the most.
And as HDA, local and state officials celebrated with the family, Senator Brandon Smith explains what days like this continue to prove.
The flood that tried to flatten us helped us rise, because our string was these wonderful groups that we have that held on to us and did not let us get blown away. So sometimes the resistance that wants to destroy you can actually turn to be the thing that's going to make this an incredible subdivision with families and voices and echoes of a much better time than what we just came through.
And Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman says they will continue showing up for days like this as they continue bringing Kentuckians together.
You know, the biggest problems that we face don't care what your political beliefs are. All that matters is that you show up for people, no questions asked, and do the work of helping making their lives better. Melissa, you're worth it, and your family's worth it. And showing up today and being able to celebrate this progress with you, I couldn't think of a better way to spend a beautiful day in Eastern Kentucky.
The Neese family hopes to move in by spring. In Perry County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
This is the first of 17 homes that HDA will rebuild using the Rural Housing Trust Fund. They will also be repairing 15 for a total of 32 projects supported.
Well, the forecast does not change much into your Tuesday evening. Here's a live look from Pikeville to Hazard to London. Once again, we are dry, also cool. Those temperatures back in the middle to upper 50s across the region. So a little bit cooler into this evening, up to 58 for London, 57 for Manchester, and cooler in the Big Sandy Valley, down to 51 over in Grundy at this hour. But check out these dew points, upper teens and lower 20s. That means the air is very dry as we go into this evening. And once you factor in this dry air with the warm weather that we are forecasting on Wednesday and Thursday, that could lead to an increased fire danger once again by Wednesday and Thursday. As you can see, those burn bans continue across the region as we have 7 active fires right now in Eastern Kentucky, and we are watching out for that fire danger to continue into the middle of this week. But some better news, we are tracking some rain chances by Friday, all thanks to a cold front. So we are tracking some beneficial showers to close out the work week, and then trending drier, also cooler once again for this weekend. That full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. The U.S. House is set to vote on a bill that would avert a government shutdown this Saturday. That presents a major test for new House Speaker Mike Johnson. He has faced competing demands from different factions of his party. The bill would fund some government departments until mid-January and the rest through early February. A shutdown would leave many federal employees without pay just before the Thanksgiving holiday.
Look, it took decades to get into this mess, right? I've been at the job less than 3 weeks, right? I can't turn an aircraft carrier overnight, but this was a very important first step to get us to the next stage so that we can change how Washington works.
Johnson says he's done with short-term continuing resolutions. The new speaker has also vowed to never pass a short-term continuing resolution in the future and touted his approach as innovation. The campaign fundraising manager for an embattled congressman pleaded guilty to a federal charge of wire fraud today. It was part of a plea deal for Sam Mealy, who worked for New York Representative George Santos's campaign during the 2020 and 2022 election cycles. He was accused of soliciting contributions from more than a dozen potential contributors using former Speaker Kevin McCarthy's aide's identity in phone and email communications. The parents of Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley will be standing trial separately. A Michigan Circuit judge ordered the separate trials. Jennifer and James Crumbley are charged with 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter for the mass shooting their son carried out in November 2021. The Crumbleys are being held responsible because they bought a gun for Ethan just days before the attack. One Iowa teen who pleaded guilty to killing his teacher is scheduled to be sentenced this week. Jeremy Goodale and another teen, Willard Miller, pleaded guilty in April to the 2021 attack on Nohema Graber. The 66-year-old teacher was fatally beaten while taking her regular afternoon walk. Miller was sentenced in July to life with a possibility of parole after 35 years in prison. Explosions erupted in the Gaza Strip this morning as fighting between Israeli forces and Hamas militants continues in the besieged region. There are growing fears Gaza's hospital system is on the brink of collapse following weeks of intense fighting and life-threatening shortages of basic necessities. The director of Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, calls the conditions catastrophic for patients and those seeking shelter.
Yeah, most hospitals actually are not able to function. They are overcrowded. They are still having lots of people inside, including patients and including evacuees who moved to hospitals because they thought it's safer.
Gaza City is the largest urban area in the territory and is the focus of Israel's campaign to crush Hamas following the militant group's deadly October 7th attack into southern Israel that set off the most recent conflict. The March for Israel just wrapped up in Washington, D.C. The large demonstration was organized quickly to match dozens of pro-Palestinian rallies taking place across the country as threats against Jewish people rise. CBS's Natalie Brand was there.
Tens of thousands descended on the National Mall in a march for Israel against anti-Semitism.
Since October 7th, there has been literally an explosion of violence against Jewish people.
My friends, there are no words for the horror that happened 1 month ago in Israel.
Speakers included lawmakers and family members of the hostages still being held in Gaza.
Bring them home. Bring them home.
Organizers and the families called for their safe release.
Bring Omer and all of the hostages home now.
The demonstration brought groups from synagogues and Jewish organizations from as far as California.
I think that the impact of this march will really be heard across the entire nation.
The Department of Homeland Security designated the highest level of security possible for this demonstration. DHS says since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, there's been an increase in reports of threats against Jewish, Arab American, and Muslim communities.
In the end, Palestinians should also understand it's a fight for them as well.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog also took part with a live message from the Western Wall in Jerusalem.
We, the people of Israel, are eternal, and no one will break us.
Organizers say they want to show the world that Jewish communities should be able to live without terrorism and free of hate. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
The event is believed to be the largest pro-Israel gathering in the U.S. since Hamas militants inflicted widespread carnage in Israel back in October. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, a story of hope from the fire-ravaged island of Maui.
Plus, fire danger will continue for much of this week, but we are tracking some beneficial showers after this break.